Hello, YouTube. It is I, Mr. Zero, of Mr. Zero's Terroride. I am Mr. Zero, clown, comic, commentator, and annoying guy with a pumpkin for a mouse. Boogity, 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 boogity. Woohoo! I am here tonight to talk about spooky things like ghostly phenomena and pick my nose. Let me bring you in closer. Come in closer so I can talk to you, okay? My wife had me compile a hastily scribbled list of things that she wishes people would ask themselves before they start telling their ghost stories to her. Um, a little bit of information on my wife. She lived in the same house for many years, and um, found herself still living in there, even though her parents, um, while her father moved away, her mother died, and she was still living in the same house. She was getting new roommates. One of the roommates was particularly into paranormal phenomena and psychic and blah blah blah. Believed a lot in that stuff, and would bring friends over who would tell her that the house was haunted. And my wife is of a very anxious and paranoid thread, and so she started buying into these things. And it wasn't until I came along into her life and started showing her that maybe not all of these stories were so true. I would give like other possibilities, other logical things that might be going on. Um, and to this day, that roommate is still living in that house, even though we've moved out. And she claims that she hears and sees strange things. Even though the whole time I lived in that house, nothing of that nature ever happened to me. Um, and one of the big, the where my wife started trusting me is I had taken my daughter and my nephew over to their grandfather's to hang out, and when I came back home, my wife is on the front lawn, just you know, rolling back and forth in her wheelchair, scared, scared. She had been inside, alone on the computer when there was some craft turkeys. It was getting close to Thanksgiving or past Thanksgiving or something like that. But some crafted turkeys, the kind that are made out of like you take your hand and you turn it into a turkey. Some of those were hanging, chained together by yarn, and they were hanging up on a beam in the kitchen. One of them flew down and was fluttering and scared my wife. She swore a ghost was doing it. I went inside the house. I said, "What is it? This one here that's hanging?" She says, "Yeah." I took it, stuck it back up. I said, "Exactly how was it flipping?" It was flipping around. And right after I had said that, it came down and kind of fluttered as it fell. And she says, "Well, maybe it did that." Um, am I coming in clear? So that was the first one. I said, "Well, okay, your mind just was playing a trick on you. You were adding more to something that really happened than what really happened." So anyway, my wife wanted me to do a video talking about this for people. Um, and then I'll have my own words on this. But these are some things that she wants people to ask themselves when they start telling stories about ghosts and believing that they're true. The first one is, were you drinking or on drugs? And I think a better question is, have you ever done drugs? Have you ever done a hallucinatory? Um, some of those things can remain in your system and cause you to have out. And not only that, but it's hallucinations are more common than you think. But we'll get on that later. Do you have a mental disorder she wants, or do you have a history of mental illness in your family? That might mean you're more prone to seeing things. And I would add on the list: do you have vision problems? Um, do you have pets? Pets can often be mistaken for various weird things. Um, when the Bride of Chucky was coming out, I made it a goal to watch all of the Child's Play movies so that I would be ready on October 16th of 1998, which was the day after my birthday. I shouldn't be telling people that was my birthday, but okay, so October 16th, 1998, Bride of Chucky comes out. I was ready for it. Wanted to go see it, but I wanted to be fresh on Child's Play. I'm gonna get in here and make sure that you can see me. I wanted to be sure that I'd seen all the Child's Play movies, so I was watching them in succession. I was home alone. Family was out of town. Perfect time to watch horror movies. And then one night I start hearing little footsteps coming down my stairs, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it's Chucky!" I'm sitting there like, all of a sudden I'm like, just like I'm paralyzed. I don't want to look. And then I'm lying down on the couch, and around the corner of the couch comes this like shock of orangey red hair, and I just jump, ah! And my cat's reaction was, because my cat was a very similar color to Chucky's hair, and it didn't enter my. I was too scared to think that might have been my cat scaring me. So, at any rate, if you have pets in the house, you can easily jump to conclusions when something moves. Um, have you and also drafts in the house can cause things to move or make you feel cold. Have you had enough sleep? I also can. I have sleep apnea. I have trouble going to sleep at night. I have trouble staying asleep. I often wake up. So holding down there was a period of time where I was holding down a job where I was getting up at 6 in the morning to make sure that I got there on time for it. And oftentimes I'd only have 3 hours of sleep. I get so tired at that job. Like after a week of that, I'd start hallucinating, and all of a sudden, like I was working in a workshop, not too terribly unlike Freddy's boiler room workshop, and suddenly I'd hallucinate Freddy Krueger stuff. Like, not that Freddy Krueger was there, but like stuff that would be in his workshop or on my workbench. And I once even tried to push a Freddy stroller out of my way that wasn't even there. I was like, I gotta get that out of the way because I'm walking there, and it wasn't even there. Odd little hallucinations I've had, but this is going on for too long, so I'm gonna go right into was it dark, which is always like ghostly phenomena happens at night. Many people say, well, let's say it has to happen at night. I say it has to happen at night because if it's not dark, you're not going to see these things. Um, were you alone or in a small group of people? This will affect you different ways. If you're alone, your mind will play tricks on you. If you're with a small group, your guys' paranoia will affect each other. Um, have you had proper food? Um, obviously, if you haven't eaten enough, you might hallucinate. Was your food tainted? If you had food poisoning, you might see things. Had you recently seen a horror movie or a scary movie? Various things that can help explain ghostly phenomena. Um, but my big deal is I'm sure there's a lot of stories. My stories that are like close to ghostly are like obviously that Child's Play story. I didn't play it up very big here because I was trying to get through it fast, but I tried to play it up for the humor. The joke wasn't that I actually had a ghost or that it was Chucky, but it was actually my cat. Other people they want the exciting ghost story. They lead what they feel are probably is like boring lives, and they want to make their life sound more exciting by saying that they've got a ghost story. And I'll tell my wife, I says, you come out with them with any logical explanation, and they'll sit there and argue because the truth is so much more boring than the scary haunting story. I remember a friend of mine, he was describing having what's known as sleep paralysis, which is where your brain wakes up, but your body doesn't wake up. And so you're still partially asleep, but you're kind of aware. And there's usually a feeling like you can't breathe. And there's also a feeling like something might be on top of you. This used to, people used to believe that this was like a incubus or a succubus attacking them, maybe vampires. Now people use it to describe like that when this happens to people, they say it's aliens. But it's just called sleep paralysis. But even I mentioned that to him. I says, you know, there's a phenomenon called sleep paralysis, and he wouldn't hear that. He would, no, 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 no. It's satanic. There's some sort of satanic power trying to mess with me, because to him that was the more important part, is that he's being attacked by Satan, rather than it could be that he just suffers from sleep paralysis for an occasion. That's my big. My wife, it's always like people are just mistaking things, and I will say, yeah, they're probably mistaking things. Plus, they need the story. They need it to be true to make it more fun. If they had to admit, well, it could have been this or it could have been that, the story isn't there, and it just isn't as fun. That's all we want is the story. All right, end communication. Wink. Ah, see you next time. I'll see you next time.